Erasing history and the dumbest bill in America. This is Mark Fisher with Mark and the Millennials, and the Millennials joining me today are Andrew the Fuji Fujaniti, Ryan the Squirrel Brady, and of course our producer, Adam Katora. So San Francisco School Board wants to erase history by painting over a mural of George Washington. Gentlemen, what do you think about this?
Interesting topic. I mean, I just recently heard about this. It sounds like there's a painting of George Washington. I think
There's
it's
violence
a large
depicted in it.
Yeah, what was that, right?
There's some violence depicted in it.
I think
that's the reason why it's causing some stir. And they say it's degrading to the students to see such violence depicted. I really don't know the artist that did it behind the history of it or maybe the context of it. But I think they're going with the violence part of it. But
So what violence?
You see violence in history books. I mean, right?
We all have
war pictures.
What was the battle in Canada where there's a British officer laying on his deathbed, and we all see that. It's like, oh yeah, failed attempt at the War of 1812, great stuff, But I don't. I kind of find it like, why now? I guess, but we're in this age of where it's now appropriate or easier to remove historical paintings, I guess. I don't really know the date of when the mural was made, but it's kind of like, is it because of George Washington or because of the violence depicted? But they're going for the violence end of it.
Well, this was actually in the Daily Signal, I believe. It says, "This is reparations," Education Board Commissioner Mark Sanchez said in a KQED report when asked about the estimated $600,000 price tag it was going to take to remove the mural. He said, this is about reparations.
Okay.
I disagree with that.
The money could be used for something better. You could put a plaque next to that mural for context, which I think goes a longer way because it serves as a teaching moment of what the mural truly means, rather than spending more than $500,000.
Yeah, because George Washington, it's a mural of him on a school wall depicting him standing over Native American's corpse and another in company of slaves on his Mount Vernon estate. And so this is
that's heavy.
It's right. It's a depiction of history.
Yep.
Isn't the purpose of a mural to be able to use it as a teaching moment?
Yes.
Well, yeah, I think instead of saying like we disagree with certain aspects of this painting because we don't agree with slavery, we don't agree with how United States was founded, whatever it be, if it has to do with Indian genocide, that you could say I disagree with that stuff, but erasing the painting is not the solution. You can talk about those subject matters and the context of the painting and say this is what happened. Here's what here's what history was, how it happened, and why.
But this is the political correctness that we live in,
but
right?
Erasing it.
Political correctness.
That.
And I think, honestly, a lot of people are losing a lesson about history itself. History is not meant to make you comfortable 100% of the time. History has a lot of uncomfortable moments, a lot of horrors, a lot of tragedies. Throughout our short existence as a human species, like, come on, recording history, there's been some horrible stuff that's happened for the past 2,000 plus years. Give me a break.
Of course. And absolutely. And you want to be able to memorialize it in certain ways to learn from it, and also judge any individual character throughout history in the context of their whole life and in the context of when they were active in history, rather than, of course, looking back, a couple hundred years later and saying, well, what a terrible person, because by today's standard, they would have been awful.
If you shy away from the past, or even worse, hide the past, you're doomed to repeat the past, and people can't learn from the mistakes of past generations.
Speaking of which, William Latson of Spanish River Community High School in Boca Raton, Florida, refused to acknowledge to students that the Holocaust happened. We don't have a clip on this. I want to hear what you guys think about this. What should happen to a teacher when they say it didn't happen?
So can you tell me why are we have a lot of shoes in a lot of Holocaust museums across the world and at old death camps and concentration camps? Because honestly, if he doesn't believe it happened, that kind of makes me kind of concerned.
Well, I think what's ridiculous about this story is that I think the principal said, I could be wrong on this, but I thought he said that it wasn't that he was saying it didn't happen. He said it wasn't his place to say what happened. His place was to give the details and let the parents and the children make their own decisions.
It's fact. Millions and millions of people died.
Exactly.
Systematically died because a
Exactly.
crazy guy got a hold of power, and we had a world war about it, and we dropped some bombs on a lot of people.
The Miami Herald said a South Florida principal who refused to say the Holocaust was a factual historical event. In fact, he intentionally said it wasn't factual and historical. Will be reassigned to a district position immediately. The Palm Beach County School District confirmed Monday. So was he removed? Yeah, he was removed from that school, and he's going to be reassigned. Presumably, he's going to be removed from, and if anyone knows anything about Boca Raton is a heavily Jewish area. So obviously this was very sensitive there. So where are they going to move him? To some place that isn't? I mean, if it's factual, this is the problem. This is the whole erasing history thing, which drives me crazy. Fuji, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is the danger you have when somebody like this individual, this principal, gets in an educational role, right? They instead of teaching history and facts, they're pushing agendas, and like for him, for example, it's saying that the Holocaust didn't happen.
Exactly.
But these people, it's like we rely on them to teach the facts, and now they're just pushing agendas, which is pretty creepy when you think about it.
Exactly. So Ilhan Omar, of course, Congressman Omar, says that America is not great. And she's part of this group of American haters who just wants to rewrite history, change history, not abide by the Constitution. We have a clip on her where she's talking about how she loves our country more than folks who were born here, native-born Americans. And here's the clip.
Something that I get criticized for all the time. It's not what you think, so don't don't gasp.
Safe crowd.
It is that I am anti-American because I criticize the United States, and I believe, as an immigrant, I probably love this country more than anyone that is naturally born.
Oh, sure you do, because all she does is complain about the United States of America, a country that she came to from Somalia, thankfully, because she was given all of these opportunities, including becoming a United States Congresswoman. I mean,
The realization of the American dream right there.
exactly. I mean, but she's not thankful.
People don't. She's got it twisted. She's saying that people think she's anti-American because she criticizes America, but that's not the case. People think she's anti-American because she wants to change America.
Yes.
She wants to implement socialism and socialist principles and policies. That's not criticizing America. You can say, if she wants to throw out these things, say America was never great. Well, it's like, okay, it's the great experiment. Yeah, it's never going to be perfect. Like, we are probably the greatest. We are the greatest country in the world, and we're constantly evolving and stuff. And you can criticize certain aspects of it, but you want to completely overhaul what we are as a country. So it's not, people aren't criticizing you hate America because you criticize policies. We're saying because you want America to stop being America.
And
yes, exactly.
Two things on that. Andrew brought up a good point that I was going to go on too. First, the logic of Congressman Omar's comments was basically saying, yeah, true. If you weren't born here and you immigrated over into this country, you made a choice to leave whatever you knew for a better life to achieve the American dream. I get it. Our ancestors did it. They left everything they knew for the chance of achieving the American dream and allowing their descendants to actually flourish in a new burgeoning country. And I get it. And then also a second point is you made a great point saying America is a great country. It is the greatest country in the world. And so a lot of people do have that argument with when Trump goes to say, make America great again. It's like, wait, it wasn't already great before? What are you trying to get at? And then people can go back to a more of a nativist concept. And it can get into very muddy to that way. But honestly, it's her right to criticize. I get it. But
that's all she does is criticize. In fact,
True.
we have another clip of her where she's criticizing the United States foreign policy. And here's the clip.
What they're doing with our foreign policy in regards to Venezuela, Iran, Yemen, all of these policies, we often don't get to have a clear debate about the people he's appointing to lead in these areas as an envoy. Which was why I lost my mind when Elliot Abrams came to my committee.
Yeah, so there you go. I mean, she lost her mind when Elliot Abrams came to her committee, and she's basically a very angry person. She should be so thankful and so happy about her situation in the United States of America, especially since she's a United States Congresswoman. But instead, she's angry because she sees America as everything that is wrong in the world. And for me, that just disgusts me because I'm so used to people being so thankful for being in this country.
It's frustrating because, like I said, I don't have a problem even with congresswomen and congressmen criticizing certain policies, right? That's the whole point of government, is to have thoughtful debate on policy and stuff like that. But what's frustrating is that she's not just criticizing policy; she's criticizing all American values, and she's saying that she wants to flip those values on its head, and the policies she's looking to promote are going to harm Americans, right? They don't believe in people. They believe in bringing everybody down.
Yes,
and
exactly.
I think it was a quote by Winston Churchill that said, like, socialism, the socialist policies are like equality of misery. Like they want everyone to be on the same level, and everyone's gonna be miserable,
Equally miserable.
That's equally miserable. Exactly.
Exactly.
That's what's frustrating.
Squirrel, come on. What do you think? Complain. I mean, this is clip number 2. There's so many.
You could say she's angry, but I also think it's just more or less out of frustration on her end because she's trying to implement policies that honestly probably, in my opinion, won't work in our fabric of our country. And it goes to another thing of the dysfunction of Congress. You have people on one side saying, haha, I got the points, I got the more power than you, and majority, I'm going to push bills that make sense for my party and not actually have substantive conversation. Granted, there was a bipartisan bill that passed for the immigration reform, not immigration reform, but to fix things at the border. What was it, like a couple $1 billion? And they were the 4 Congress people to vote no against it when everyone else did.
Exactly.
They were like, well, we need to make sure it's going to the right people, or actually fix the things that we care about. It's like, that's called a compromise. A very rare thing that happens on Capitol Hill. I was kind of surprised to see, but it's like, give me a break.
So look, Trump had enough of all this complaining. I mean, it's just complaining. And I think most Americans, I really do believe this, they really see this particular individual as someone who is not solution-based, but just complaining all the time. And Trump had it. And here is Donald Trump. You got to listen to this.
Do that, but I will tell you, with our country, and I think everybody in this audience, these are great manufacturers, great workers in our audience too. They brought a lot of their workers here. If you're not happy here, then you can leave.
I mean, that was so incendiary. I mean, basically, the press just went crazy during this press conference, and they were essentially debating him, many members of the press. They were no longer trying to get a further clarification from him, but literally debating him as if they were on the stage with him debating. It was really ridiculous, but it's, on the one hand, understandable why you want to be tired of these complaints and say, you came from this really awful place in the world, a very poor place, and you came here and, so what do you think, Fuji? You're smiling.
I was just thinking, I was like, that's the funny thing. I love that quote from Trump because, that's the funny thing about open border policies. You can go both ways, right? If you don't like it, you can leave. But it seems like everyone's pouring into the country. So my guess is that maybe they disagree with Congresswoman Omar and they actually do think America is great because they're coming for some reason, right? I mean,
exactly.
It's
by the millions. By the millions.
You know what's the funny thing I always play through my head is, like, if you had the opportunity to say, I don't like this country, I would rather go somewhere else. I'd rather go back to my ancestral homeland.
Never do.
It's like you give them all expense paid. All right, here's your ticket, and here's a house. Here's everything you need that you could need for a few years. Here you go. You ready to go? It's like, no. They just retract. It's like, oh, no, this is a great country. We got to work on some things here. Okay.
So angry at Trump, Congressman Tlaib, AOC, Congresswoman Omar, and Congresswoman Presley, the 4 women, otherwise known as the Squad, they have responded. And we have a clip from Congresswoman Presley, who's from Massachusetts. And here she is.
We are grateful for your solidarity, your encouragement, and your support in the face of the most recent xenophobic, bigoted remarks from the occupant of our White House. I will always refer to him as the occupant, as he is only occupying space.
So, yeah, there you have it. So Congresswoman Presley thinks that he really isn't the president of the United States, that he was not duly elected. And then you have these four individuals. The squad, of course, all they do is complain. They don't have solutions. They voted against the border funding to be able to take care of these children on the border. And it's just complain. Gentlemen, I want to hear what you have to say.
So I hopefully I'm not
Squirrel.
misattributing this, but like I'm gonna go from my TV viewing. Like one of my most favorite series. You guys can ride me on this if you want, but The West Wing. I actually do like The West Wing as a series, and I think there was a point in an episode where they were talking about someone not respecting the president because they didn't agree with them politically or ideologically or whatever past deeds. You respect the office of the president. You have to respect the person.
Yes.
But by
Exactly.
respecting the office, you also respect the person that inhabits the office. It's like transferring it over. You don't have to respect the person. You respect the office, and it's the president.
Yeah.
So what you're saying then, Squirrel,
Sorry,
is
yeah.
we got it.
See, I need a whiteboard saying
squirrel moment. That's a squirrel moment.
here's my
Draw us a line.
hypothesis.
Draw
right
us a
here.
line.
A to B to C to D to E, and then back to A. It makes sense, but hopefully people track.
Go ahead, Pooch.
Well, no, I agree with that, but let's be honest. Like this whole firestorm probably didn't need to happen. Like Trump started this very unnecessary
did.
thing. I mean, he had everything was kind of going in his favor a little bit. I mean, the Democrats were fighting each other; they were imploding. You had the squad attacking the leadership of the party, and then Trump had decided like he just can't control himself.
I just have a great,
It's so frustrating.
I just have great
You can't.
imagery. It's like he's just sitting there talking, everything's great, and he's loading a 12 gauge slug in a shotgun. And he's like pointing at his foot. And he says, "I'm going to say this," and
Yeah.
he shoots his foot off again and again and again. And I guess that's what makes Trump Trump. But then again, it's like, dude, chill out.
So Congress will go ahead,
Do you
Katora.
think maybe he was just mad that they weren't talking about him for a couple of minutes? He's like, how do I make this about me?
I need
That was
more
our
at me
producer, Adam
tweets.
Katura. So Congresswoman Omar comes originally from Somalia, correct?
Correct.
And so she was born there, and she lost her mother at a very young age. And Somalia became a country that was engaged in civil war. And her family actually lived in a camp right across the border in Kenya for 4 years. And for anyone who knows anything about Somalia and, of course, also Ethiopia, these are very, very poor countries, some of the poorest in the world. And they are arid. For the most part, it's very
Hard living.
Yes, it's very hard living. It's not very. So we wanted to throw a little humor into this because you would think that this individual, Congresswoman Omar, would be very thankful for where she is today. Well, so there's this comedian, Sam Kinison. He was incredibly terribly famous throughout the 1980s. And he was in the movie Back to School. And he was always making fun of Ethiopia and always making fun of Somalia, these two countries, about why would you live there if you can't grow food and so forth. And I just want everyone to know, we don't think it's funny that people starve at all. That's not what we're saying. We're trying to enter some humor into this and some perspective about how grateful this woman should be about where she is today versus where she came from. Anyway, you're gonna laugh at this. Here is the infamous Sam Kinison. Go.
I don't need that shit. You want to help them? You really want to help these people? Stop sending them food. Don't send these people another bite. You want to help them? Send them U-Hauls. Send them luggage, folks. Send them somebody like me. I'll walk out there. Send a guy out there that goes, hey, we just drove 700 miles with your food. And it occurred to us that there wouldn't be world hunger if you people would live where the food is!
So that's the famous Sam Kinison line. He used to say this all the time, which of course there is some truth to that, right? Which is, you're a nomad, you're living in these countries. It's very difficult to live. So go.
And what's fascinating is, that's what she did, right? She lived in a country where, food, whatever, the economic situation, political situation, was all
No
chaos.
choice of her own, though, to be fair.
Okay, but the family, right, made the decision to come to a country like it's probably very few countries in the world where their family could achieve and she could achieve as an immigrant the success she has, right? She's
Amen to
she's
that.
a United States Congresswoman.
Yeah, no, as I
it's
said, American
pretty-
dream achieved with that right there.
Absolutely, which makes it fascinating to me that the policies that she pushed and her stance on the American values and everything that she's achieved was all due to that, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
So it's crazy that she's trying to flip the script. So.
And Sam Kinison kind of just brings light to that about how incredibly fortunate is she. And, so many people will come to the United States and they will, of course, get an education. And then many times they'll go back to their home country and try to fix things. And instead, she's coming here and saying, no, my home country is just fine. This is the place that needs to be fixed. We are the problem. I'm sorry. That's just ridiculous. I mean, it's understandable why the president would be upset after a while hearing all this stuff. But I agree with you that he should have taken the high road. It would have been a lot better choice. So next up, AOC's chief of staff admits the Green New Deal is a hoax. Literally.
Shocker.
He's speaking, of course, to an individual, in theory, off the record, saying, it's really about controlling the economy. It's not really about climate change.
The green economy?
Yes, it's really about getting control of the economy, which is socialism and communism. Incredible. Gentlemen, I want to hear what you have to say about this.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole sham. That most rational people saw what they were doing, from the beginning and see that this wasn't about the climate. It's like, what does guaranteeing every person a job have to do with the environment?
Or making every single building sustainable.
Retrofit it, spending trillions and trillions of dollars to
with
retrofit
what money?
buildings.
We're $24 trillion in debt and counting. I think we're 24 trillion. We were last time 23 last time I checked, but we're growing.
This is just kind of a disgusting way for them to go ahead and promote their economic agenda, their socialist agenda.
Absolutely.
Versus actually, in the name of, the climate and the environmental cause.
It felt half-baked from the start. It felt like a bunch of college-age students were doing an all-nighter, and they were just writing everything together, mashed together. Like, this seems good. Let's see if we get an A. No, it came out to be a D-, honestly, because... some of these proposals were really off-center and kilter. Granted, renewable energy and the technology it's on its way. It's going to be used to offset your traditional energy bill cost, but right now it's not really cost effective. It takes a lot to get going, and it's.
But imagine how much you hate this country and its history that you think that you need to completely control the economy with a bill and an idea that is completely false, and then you admit it and you know it. I mean, that to me is disgusting. What concerns me is how many millennials, I'm a boomer, I'm a baby boomer, how many millennials believe this stuff? You need to help us with the millennials, gentlemen.
Too many, I would say.
Well, I think most millennials. I guess I can't speak for everyone, but I think
very broad stroke
there. A good amount of people that I know, millennials, my age group, they're all they're very pro environment and those types of policies. But I think when they may not understand or have delved into the other aspects of this Green New Deal, the economic aspects. I think once they see that, they may think on the surface again. Maybe it's like, oh, that's a great idea. Everyone gets a job, that's great. But when you see the effect it has, and you put the price tag on it, and all that kind of stuff, and you look into whether it's actually feasible,
exactly. There's always a cause and effect, and sometimes the effect is going to be really great in the wrong way, in the wrong sense.
And now they're admitting it, finally. So next up, President Trump signs an executive order requiring data collection collaboration between all of the federal agencies to determine citizenship. We have a clip on this, and here it is, don't we?
Are you a citizen of the United States of America? Oh, gee, I'm sorry, I just can't answer that question, and that's after spending billions and billions of dollars. There used to be a time when you could answer questions like that very easily. There used to be a time when you could proudly declare, I am a citizen of the United States. Now they're trying to erase the very existence of a very important word and a very important thing, citizenship. They're even coming after the Pledge of Allegiance in Minnesota. I'm proud to be a citizen. You're proud to be a citizen. The only people who are not proud to be citizens are the ones who are fighting us all the way.
Yeah, so there you have it. I mean, there you have Trump talking about this need to be able to determine whether people are citizens or not. And it makes perfect sense. He signed an executive order because obviously he hasn't succeeded with getting the question actually on the census. Gentlemen, come on.
So I wish I remember the political cartoon's name to properly attribute the person, but on Politico, there's a thing called the Cartoon Carousel of the Week's politics summed up into a multiple of different cartoons from different viewpoints. There was a 4-panel cartoon where it's a census interviewer interviewing somebody, and it's saying, how many bathrooms do you have? How many people live in the house? How many cars you have? And it's like, are you a U.S. citizen? And the guy goes, that's intrusive. And it's like, wait, me asking you about how many people live in your house, how many cars you have, what kind of cars, and how many, like, it's like, okay.
Yeah, exactly right. I have 2 things. One, I just love, I just can't get enough of how Trump is able to break down a subject in just a simple way that like people can understand it. Like that at the beginning where he talks about you can't answer if you're a citizen. Like it's like, this is how fundamental this issue is. But then 2, the fact that the government can go ahead and he can sign an executive order and they can go ahead and just pull all this data together the way, like, as easy as he's saying, that's why I know people that are like, I'm not answering census questions. Like, I know it's breaking the law, but I'm not going to do that. Why do I need to answer questions when government, big government has all that data already, which is kind of creepy. That's so scary. That was the first thing I thought when he said that. I was like, well,
they're getting it from Google.
We don't even need you to actually fill out the census forms.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say about this. On one hand, that's kind of why I like the census being as imperfect as it is, and like them just going and kind of estimating. So we asked like 100 people, and we'll extrapolate that to the rest of the population. Because I don't want the government knowing everything about me and having all this info on my house, and then just saying, oh, well, we don't need your text messages and know who's a citizen. We have it anyway. We'll just ask the NSA. That's terrifying.
Yeah.
So.
But this fight comes to me like everyone getting upset about the U.S. citizen question. It comes down to my opinion from everything else that's been happening for the past few months of this even going on is that it comes down to, I think, Democrat states are worried about losing federal funding and votes per district.
Of course.
Because if they can't count the undocumented immigrant population, illegal aliens, guess what? They can't count that. It means less people in those districts, which means less electoral votes for the next presidential election.
If you live in a major city and you have 200,000 illegal aliens in your city and they're not counted, then obviously you're losing that opportunity to not just get the funding, as you just mentioned, but you're also losing the opportunity to have guaranteed Democrat votes. These are individuals who aren't going to be able to vote in theory because they're not citizens, but they would be counted, and therefore you're going to be able to keep a blue district blue because it's really plussed up on the blue side.
And then they may be concerned, and we've talked about this on previous
merging
podcasts.
Of districts.
Well, no, I mean just saying the illegal alien populations might be moving into these districts, but the sprawl outside of the districts and people leaving in these districts where they've got overtaxation and socialist policies, maybe this shows that they're actually very concerned about that.
Absolutely, I think they are too. So next up, Peter Thiel says Google may have committed treason because they may be working with the Chinese military. This is really incredibly important news.
Scary.
I think most people aren't aware of this because it's about artificial intelligence.
News to me.
And we have a clip from Peter Thiel about this very subject. Here it is.
Artificial intelligence is something people talk about nonstop in Silicon Valley, but they almost never talk about its dual use. If it's real, if this is a real thing, it obviously can also be used by the military. It'll be weaponized in all sorts of ways, and it's an important national security question as to who has it. There's this very peculiar background where Google is working with the Chinese communist government and not with the U.S. military. So the Project Maven decision was a decision not to work with AI with the U.S. military, but they're working with the communist Chinese.
So there you have it. I mean, there's
Lord.
already been information that Google shadow bans people, which you can talk about that as well, because I think a lot of our listeners don't know what that means. But with artificial intelligence, perhaps you guys can talk about, first of all, define for our listeners, what is artificial intelligence? And if Google works with the Chinese military, I mean, this is an American company. I mean, and Peter Thiel, by the way, for everyone out there, so you know, Peter Thiel is not only the founder of PayPal, and he sold it for, obviously a couple of $1 billion. I'm not sure the exact amount, but a lot of money. He was also the initial institutional investor into Facebook. So this man is obviously very knowledgeable about technology. So go ahead. Let's hear about this.
So I need to unpack a few things. So first, all these Google employees that are up in arms with Google working with the U.S. government, they rise up and boycott, have protests, but Google works with the People Liberations Army of China, and there's no news stories, there's no riots, there's no upheaval. It's like guys, do you really know who your true adversary is? Because it ain't the U.S. government. It is the Chinese across the Pacific Ocean.
Exactly.
Give me a
You
break.
wouldn't know it from the squad.
And second thing, good point. But second thing is, you can turn to, believe it or not, you can turn to sci-fi, and because all humans have imaginations, the weaponizing AI, using AI to make our lives easier and more efficient, and and weaponizing key. So think Terminator, think all the other things that are under
like the movie The Terminator,
yes,
right? Okay,
yeah.
With
And
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
or even more in the realm of possibility right now is Eagle's Eye, that old Shia LaBeouf movie where there was an AI that can control drones. Go figure on that.
Sure.
Honestly, it's a reality. You're gonna have to come to it, but.
Yeah, but we're talking here about an American company cooperating potentially, according to Peter Thiel. He wants to get the CIA and the FBI involved because he's alleging, he's not saying he's certain, but he's alleging that they may be cooperating with the Chinese military to make the Chinese military further advanced than the American military in terms of artificial intelligence.
They are so short-sighted. Come on, really?
They being whom?
The Chinese.
The Chinese.
And Google. Like, come on. The Chinese want to become the top global hegemon in the world by 2044, whatever the 100th anniversary of the
Shout
Communist
out
Party.
Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah. They want a deep blue navy. We can talk about the Beltway of Pearls again, the Belt of Pearls. They're building seaports in third world countries with long-term military leases, high-speed railways, and highways connecting Asia to Europe because they want to move the trade to them.
But how's that help them with AI, though? That's the thing. I mean, the United States is the leader in technology, and of course now they're using our technology companies and basically co-opting them.
Well, yeah. So my take on this is that it's frightening news if it's true. These are just some statements made by Thiel at a conference. There's nothing like I don't think anything's been corroborated as to whether or not Google's denying it. I know they've made some statements and denied it. We haven't heard anything else. But it logically it could make sense. I mean, Google is a company that for years had been trying to break into the Chinese market, and
no doubt,
and so it's possible that China like they do with all companies. China tries to strong arm them and make deals with them and say
how much are they willing to sell their values in order to be able to get access to the Chinese
we'll let
market?
You buy your Google Pixel phones in the Chinese marketplace, or hey, we'll partner with your quantum computer initiative.
Exactly.
So next up, for all of you baby boomers out there, for all you millennials out there, you're gonna love this next story because a millennial writer at the job cries at work and puts her mother on the speakerphone because her editor corrects her. Her editor corrected her spelling, and she was so upset that she called her mother, put her mother on speakerphone so everybody could hear. Of course, I'm not sure she realized that, and then started crying because, I don't know, the editor told her she needed to do a job a little bit better. Millennials, this is, as you know, this is the big hit that boomers have on millennials, that they have helicopter parents and that they're unable to make that separation from their parents with respect to their jobs. I just went, Katora, here comes the public. Here comes
this is the boomers hit on millennials. What generation do you think her mother is in? You guys are just as guilty as we are.
Do we have a helicopter sound?
Yeah, exactly. Mark, so you said it yourself. You said the helicopter parents. Those are boomers.
Yes,
and
they are.
They have created the monsters, the millennials, if you will.
My kids don't fail. They get trophies because they participated. They don't know failure. Huh. Come on, failure builds character.
So the editor was supposed
just
to
like
show
dodgeball.
up. The editor is supposed to show up with a big trophy, and say, it's okay, we'll use that word. Even though it's supposed to be T-H-E-I-R, T-H-E-R-E is okay.
Oh, for context, she misspelled hamster. She put a P in it when it's just H-A-M-S-T-E-R. So I don't think that was explained.
What's great is that she couldn't get over. She said, well, that's how I've always spelled it.
How did you graduate college? I just lost a point for every misspell. It was totally fine. I was within the margin of error.
How many times do you use the word hamster in a paper?
That's right. No one corrected it in my eubonics class. I'm not really sure why. That's a joke for everybody out there. It's a joke. Come on. We're joking.
Okay.
So, next up. The fart felon has been found. Yes, you heard that correctly. So we always talk about true stories. This is a true story. So there is a felon, an alleged felon, I suppose. I'm not really sure. And the police were hunting him down. He was hiding in like the brush, behind the trees and the brush and so forth. And apparently, something happened and the police found out. We have a clip on this, and here's the clip.
A suspect hiding from law enforcement and wanted in Missouri passed gas so loudly it gave up their hiding spot. Clay County Sheriff's Office in Missouri posted about it on Twitter, hashtag it happened. Deputies say they were trying to track down the suspect outside of Liberty. Suddenly, they heard the noise and sniffed out the source. Katie Johnston, CBS Local News.
I just want to know, were there body cameras? But apparently there weren't. So
they didn't need scent dogs for that one.
That guy must have been on a healthy diet of refried beans, I tell you.
Oh my God, this is almost better than the Sheboygan cereal toilet clocker. You know.
This poor guy. Can you imagine the stress trying to hold back that fart? My freedom depends on holding this back.
So next up, we have the dumbest bill in America. So we don't have music, though. One day, Katora is going to get us music.
One day.
So for the dumbest bill in America, St. Louis Park, Minnesota, they have a ban that they put on the Pledge of Allegiance. It was a resolution, and the resolution was basically, hey, you know what? We've always said the Pledge of Allegiance before our meetings. We're not going to do it anymore. And so they passed this resolution. Of course, there was a huge pushback from the residents of St. Louis Park, Minnesota. And we actually have a clip from City Councilman Tim Browson of St. Louis Park, Minnesota, who basically was kind of taunting and making fun of the so-called hallowed traditions of people who really care about their country, care about the flag, and care about the pledge. And here is the clip.
People are upset because evidently here in Minnesota, we're playing around with their hallowed traditions. So
And there you have everybody booing in the background because he's basically taunting them, saying, your hallowed so-called traditions.
Does he think he would have gotten away with that little slight in front of that whole audience?
Clearly
Come
he
on.
He did, because they put a ban in effect. Go ahead. Fuji.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what this guy's thinking. I mean, the fact that he's to a lot of people, the pledge is not so much about the words. It is a tradition, right? I mean, it's an American, principle to them. So it's less. I mean, the pledge and the words that in the pledge have been debated and litigated, for God's sakes, for years. But I mean, this is a tradition, and it's an American value, and people really care about it. Clearly, I love that people showed up at this meeting, started chanting USA, and told them how they really thought.
So I'll take it a step further. Like, my opinion is, when I say the pledge, or whenever there's an opportunity to recite the pledge, even if I'm in a municipality building during a city hall meeting or a city council meeting, like we see here, it's my chance to reaffirm my allegiance to the values of the country that I'm a citizen of and that I respect and abide by it, and I want to strive for it every day as an American citizen.
Well said.
I may not say it every single day like I used to in elementary school and high school, but when it's there at a sporting event or, again, at a government function, I'm going to say it proudly, and it's me reaffirming my allegiance to my country. That's all it is to it, and honestly,
there's
if you
a
remove
commonality that you have with everyone else in the country, and this is the pledge that you say. And here's my thing, right? And we always do the dumbest bill in America, which is really important. But if you live in a place like St. Louis Park, Minnesota, and you are an elected official, and you say to yourself, there are so many problems we have in our town, and we want to fix those problems, and this is what you choose to spend your time on, is to ban the pledge. It tells you that there are far too many laws that are micromanaging every aspect of our lives because they're running out of things to do, right? Don't you guys agree with this?
It's almost like I can easily see like San Francisco doing this, and it's like, wait, you're going to ban the Pledge of Allegiance and fix your homelessness problem? Interesting. That's worth your time right there. Take 15 seconds out of your meeting.
City councils and legislatures across the country and the United States Congress, they need to meet less because the more they meet, the more damage and the more dangerous they are. I've thought that for a long time.
Absolutely.
Fuji, I know you're right there with me.
I completely agree, though. The less time they have the metal, the better.
They should have more access to their constituents and hear from their constituents before they make a move. So there's a balance that needs to be struck.
Absolutely. So next up, a woman dies after falling on an eco-friendly metal straw that pierced her eye. Now, this is a uniquely millennial thing, I think, because I'm not saying millennials are the only ones that care about the environment, but
right
millennials,
in the cornea.
This is all about single-use plastic straws and the fact that they may, of course, pollute. Well, obviously they do pollute the environment.
Microplastics and
But the idea that a turtle could swallow them, they could get into the food chain and so forth. But that's not the issue. The issue is that we have a solution here, and the solution actually killed someone. And I just want to hear what you guys think about this. Come on.
Oh, I thought there was a video for a hot second. I was like, wait, maybe it's queued up. No, but
we have a clip, but we're not going to do that yet.
Gotcha. Yeah, no. How did she? So she just slipped and fell, and just that straw happened to be
fell, and it was a metal straw, and it just bad landing.
She had it in a mason jar, and the way it was placed through the top of the mason jar, it was, of course, very strong. And
condolences to the family, but man, that is one of the worst ways to go. Jeez,
right?
I mean, that's a freak accident.
Oh yeah,
that's a freak accident. I get the whole banning of straws thing. It's a nuisance because we're used to them. But I will say that like in certain I know people that use the hard plastic ones, that's probably a little bit better than the metal ones. I've tried the metal straws before, and I don't like them.
I've tried the paper straws. They dissolve halfway through your drink.
Paper straws are awful.
But then I'm probably in a minority opinion here. I usually, if I get a straw, I take it out, put it on my table, and I just drink right from the glass.
Yeah, I drink from the glass as well.
So I'm like, I'm good with that.
A lot of those paper straws are made in China, and as you said, they absorb whatever it is that you're drinking. And I always wonder, what the heck is in that paper straw? Because now I'm ingesting it. I'm not doing that with plastic, of course. And so it makes you wonder what chemicals you're ingesting, because the paper straw becomes entirely wet and gross. I mean, it's disgusting.
So beggars can't be choosers now, I guess.
But this is uniquely millennial, because on the one side, I respect the idea of trying new ways to do things and fixing things to make them better for the environment. But the idea that we have someone that says, "Oh, well, I'm eco-friendly because I have a metal straw." Well, Shell Bizzle, that's her name. It's Shelby, but she goes by Shell Bizzle. She reviews straws so as to replace single-use plastic straws, and we have a clip on her.
Hey guys, it's Shelby, otherwise known as Shell Bizzle, here on YouTube, and I'm really excited to make today's video because I'm talking about one of my favorite zero-waste swaps, the reusable straw. I have a few of my reusable straws right here in my little kangaroo pouch on my overalls today.
So dramatic.
Because we're going to be talking about 4 of the most popular alternatives to single-use plastic straws. If you guys didn't know, single-use plastic straws have become a big deal in the media recently. Cities are banning them, restaurants are stopping supplying them, and so I wanted to talk about what options there are for reusable ones instead.
Wow, that's a lot.
So, producer Adam Katura, do you know if she's getting ad revenue off this video?
I don't. I did not look that far into it, but that's a good question.
Because honestly, if she is, hey, capitalism at work right there.
I was like,
that's just crazy.
She's pouncing on this opportunity. I mean, the states are banning plastic straws, and people are going to need to know where to go to drink their drinks. They
get their reusable bamboo straw.
Yeah. Right. We need. We don't want killer straws, of course. We want at least something that's going to be a little bit better. So that's it for Mark on the Millennials. Thank you for joining Mark on the Millennials. This is Mark Fisher. I want to do a special thanks to Andrew the Fuji Fulginiti, Ryan the Squirrel Brady, and of course our producer Adam Katura. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube. See you next time.